Looking for all the latest tips, tricks, updates of what's going on in the recruiting industry, check out the Digital Recruiter Sunday night newsletter. I am not here to blow up your inbox. I don't have enough time to create an email every single day. I once a week send you impactful, a big thing that I've learned this week or realized from working with hundreds of recruiters, owning an agency myself. I'm in the trenches every day like you are, and I'm sharing everything that I'm seeing every Sunday, from content, from automation, from how to get better clients, how to find candidates quicker, how to grow your team, how to hire people, everything in between. The link is in the comments. Sign up today, or you can go to my LinkedIn profile, Clark Wilcox. It's the first link on my featured section. You can sign up there. It's all free. So you get all the tips, everything that you need, free in your inbox every Sunday night. Sign up today. Today, I have the man that is taking LinkedIn recruiting LinkedIn by storm. Greg Fischer, how you doing, man?
Oh, good. Excited to be here.
I don't even know if you need an introduction, because I feel like everyone listening to this podcast is going to know you because you have played the digital recruiter LinkedIn playbook perfectly. And even better, like, you're an awesome dude. You got a great offer. You know a ton about systems and recruiting and offshoring and nearshoring and everything else. So I am pumped that we're finally hitting record on this episode. We get to learn more about your background. I get to learn more about your background because I feel like we just like dove into it. And I'm excited to talk about, what you do, how you've been helping recruiters, how you've been helping digital recruiter, and all that good stuff. But maybe give like a quick intro, Cliff Notes version, to the listeners that might not know.
Yeah, it's fun being here. It's like meeting a celebrity.
No, stop.
Yeah, I mean, just when I first, as an aside, like when I first wanted to go jump into building my business and decided on LinkedIn as my channel, you were one of the first people I stumbled on, and I'm like, well, okay, I gotta go figure out how to do this. And of course, arrogantly, I was like, oh, I know sales, I can go do this. So I'm just gonna go like read up on what a few people do. But you were one of the first people who I was following and reading up on your stuff, and like went through the typical like, oh, I'm not getting a lot of likes on my posts, and like seeing you're like, oh, don't chase after like likes. And
Uh,
yeah, so it's actually been really cool learning a lot from you, both by proxy through your content and also live conversations. So I'm
yeah.
excited to jump into this.
Yeah, man, and likewise. For those that don't know, you have your company's what old machine, and what is it, right? Like, what does he do? And I want you to explain it because I don't want to butcher it, and because it's so needed. People know of this arena, but you do it differently, which we're going to dive into. But yeah, we'll break down kind of what you're doing right now.
Yeah, and maybe it'll be some good context to start with how I got here in the first place,
Oh,
because I think that's super relevant. So,
yeah.
um, so I first worked as a recruiter in an agency. I was the first hire for a really strong solo recruiter. We were doing healthcare direct hire placements in Los Angeles, and we started building up the business. We're doing about $1 million with a couple 180 recruiters, and then we just got stuck. And I was managing the recruiters, I was running a desk, I was doing sales, I was doing account management. I was probably bringing in one client a month, which was enough to keep the business afloat. And we were kind of plateauing at $1 million for a few years, but we couldn't break through that. We just needed to go out and get more clients. And we didn't want to dedicate cash flow to hiring a salesperson. And we heard about offshoring, and we're like, okay, great, let's go hire this agency in India and to go find leads for us. And we did it. And like half the stuff they sent us was garbage. And we're like, man, okay, we picked the wrong agency. Let's go hire another one. So
Yeah.
hired another agency, and like same thing. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is almost useless or worse than useless because I have to like spend time telling people what's wrong. So we're like, let's go hire a freelancer. And we hired a freelancer, and like they just stopped kind of responding to us periodically. And then finally we were like, okay, we have to do this differently. And we have to start looking at this as what we do with our US based recruiters. And so we spent a ton of time going out and looking for people. We built out SOPs, we built out processes of exactly what we wanted done. And then we actually like implemented KPIs and management meetings, like just like our US based employees, and things just took off. So we went from $1 million for 4 years in a row to $4 million within 3 years. And we went from a team of 4 people to a team of 40. Half of our employees were based offshore. They were doing just about everything in our business and became our superpower. Um, so that I then started just preaching it to the world pretty much of like offshore can be the thing that transforms your business.
Yeah.
And when I made the decision to exit the agency last year, I started having people left and right saying, how do you do that? And we'll dive into what Well-Oiled Machine does. But in a nutshell, I work with owners and operators of recruitment firms to help them build their own internal offshore team that works like a well-oiled machine.
I love it. And there's a ton to unpack there. And there's a couple of directions. Like there's a ton of directions I want to take this, but you left, you exited. So I want to just clarify the 4 million, that was all direct hire, right? You didn't do staffing or anything like that. That was or was it a kind of a mix? Yeah.
Yeah, good question. So it was actually a mix of 3 services. So we were doing
Okay.
about 1.5 million in direct hire. We
Yeah.
got into the embedded search slash RPO space, which
Yeah.
was another 1.5 million, very profitable 1.5 million. And then we did contract staffing where I don't remember what the top line was, but our gross profit was about another 1.5 million there as well.
Yeah.
Um, and
So
then
it's
yeah,
like, yeah.
on that 4.5 million in gross profit, we were doing about 1.5 million in EBITDA.
Yeah. It's not bad. And I think that there's something to be said of the being stuck, plateauing, trying different things. First thing I pick up on is that you just kept trying until you fixed the problem. You didn't give up on solving the problem. And it wasn't even like the types of, right, the talent, like the market we're looking at was similar. But I think it was just taking ownership of the problem, which is really interesting to me. And the kind of difference maker I see with recruiters and coaches is just not the like, oh, I tried Dripify, it doesn't work, or I tried content, it doesn't work. It's like, well, no, maybe the way you did it doesn't work. But what if there's probably a better way if other people are succeeding, right? Like just having that mindset of like just keep trying to problem solve until you get it right. Like what motivated you to like do that and to like get there, right? It's like some people would have given up.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think it's 2 things. There's the obvious of like, well, I had this vision of wanting to build a business. But I think the biggest motivator was I just hated the work. Like I just like because I figured out what worked, but I really
Yeah.
didn't want to do it. Like what I knew worked was I could go on to Indeed and I could find a company that was hiring for nursing leadership and I could go find the decision makers and find their contact info and cold call them and cold email them. And if I did that enough, I would get on the phone. But like, I just wanted to blow my brains out spending all week doing that. And I was like, okay, Greg, you have 2 options. You can keep doing this and run a reasonably profitable agency, or you can figure this out so that somebody else can do it for you and you can go to do the work you want to do.
How long did it take from like, okay, we're gonna own this and do it to like we got this thing up and running?
It probably took us 6 months to really
Uh,
build out all the processes the first time
uh,
around. There was a lot of bumbling around to figure that stuff out.
and now that you've kind of figured out the roadmap, right? It was successful. No, so many people have tried VAs. I've had a couple great ones, before. One of them
Yeah.
left to go back to school and all that. That's fine. The other one was a high-priced agency that had a crazy markup on it, and I was like, the value I just didn't feel like was there at some point. And a lot of that was just on me because I'm not an SOP. Operations is not my strength. Sales and marketing is, and client fulfillment. So there was part of that. So I've tried it. I've had a lot of benefits from it. I've also seen where it could easily fall off. Like, what do most people typically get wrong with
Yeah,
that?
it's a good question. I think the first thing is just figuring out what model is going to work for you. So you basically have 3 models for offshoring. There's outsourcing, which is probably if you're listening to this and you run an agency, you get an email probably every single day from an RPO that just says, send us your recs and we'll do it for you.
I get
Uh,
those.
Yeah, everybody gets those. So
Yeah.
that's one model. Your other model is working with an agency where they say, "Hey, you'll have an employee, but we'll help out with managing them and we'll help out with training them." And then the third model is do it yourself and go find somebody yourself and manage them yourself. And I think all three models can work. I personally didn't have success with RPOs because they didn't know my candidates, they didn't know my leads as well. They wouldn't have to lay off employees or lose their house if they didn't produce those candidates or clients.
Yeah.
So I find that can work, but often they pick the wrong model with that. With the agencies, they the agency says, "Hey, we'll help to manage them, we'll help to train them," but often they don't do it at the same degree, and so the owner kind of leans on them and thinks they're just hitting an easy button when they're not. So often it's picking the wrong model, or when they do it themselves, they simply don't make the same investment in that person that they would that if they went and hired a US based employee.
And so you're helping on the do it yourself, but like do it with help type of
Yes.
situation. Yeah.
Yes.
So break. I mean, I could break down, but like break down kind of why you choose to kind of do it that way, right? For companies and kind of how what does that look like?
Yeah, I think ultimately, if there's an important function in your business, the best way to get it right is to do it yourself. It's the same reason that if you're going to go hire an internal recruiter, you don't go have an agency or you don't go hire a part-time contractor on Upwork who's like, "Oh yeah, I've recruited before, I'll take care of your recs." That's no agency scales that way. So they scale successfully by owning it themselves. What the challenge is, there's really three challenges you have to solve when you own it yourself. So the first is figuring out who you need to hire. So where in the world is the best place for this employee? How should I employ them? Should they be a contractor? Should they be the equivalent of a W-2? What should their comp plan look like? How do you get the incentives right? And how do you even go out and find this person? Like in the
Yeah.
Philippines, for instance, you use a local job board like JobStreet to find the best people. So, and then what does that person look like? So we work through the whole process of figuring out who you should hire and how to hire them. And then the next pieces are building out your training. So you can't just say, "Hey, you've sourced before, go source." Same thing. You wouldn't go do that with the US based recruiter. So actually building out step by step, here's what good sourcing looks like. And so we go through the process of building your SOPs, building your training plan. And then the last piece is management, is actually building out what are the KPIs? How do you do quality control? What do performance review and coaching sessions look like? And if you can get all three of those things in place, it's a recipe for success. It works 10 out of 10 times.
I love it, and I've been experiencing because you've been helping me, because it's just time for us again to build some systems. I know we're recruiting adjacent, right? We also work with recruiters, but I've
Yep.
been able to kind of see the process. And number one, it's clearly you hold our feet to the fire because I can get all over the place. And if it wasn't for my wife Maddie keeping us on track and putting out the SOPs, a job description about 10 minutes after you email us to, we would still be at that stage 5 weeks later if it was up to me. Because it's just so easy, right? As a founder. So it's been great to have like that right hand person on my side to help implement a lot of this. And you've clearly known your stuff every step of the way. And just like that nuance, right? I always love working with other consultants and stuff like that because I am one, and I learn a lot by how other people operate, and I like going through that experience, right? I don't ask people to invest in coaching and consulting with me if I'm not willing to do it myself, and I'm a big proponent of that. It makes me better, but also my business better, and just from even to your point, like the job street with the Philippines, how you made us think about like selling people and like the different roles within that we could do. And of course we still came back to like probably throwing too much on stuff, so like we've been like having to refine and rework that. We started to do interviews now, and I think you running the interview, the initial one with Maddie, was super helpful. She learned a ton because you can recruit all day, but making being a hiring position is different. It's been interesting because I think she has respect for what hiring managers go through now as well, right? You're trying to navigate schedules and
Yeah.
calendars, and my own schedule. We're like, all right, well, what is Clark going to meet all these people, interview everyone? Because like my schedule is insane. So I think there's some like, there's a little bit of humility there that we've learned, but just every step of the way, I think you also challenging us to raise the bar of what we think is possible and not just make the first hire, but
Yeah.
really be like, hey, there's a standard here that is established. I don't know, maybe you could go into that because that's been one of the coolest parts, I think, and most helpful for our team.
Yeah, yeah, and it's been a lot of fun, and I think what you're going through is what pretty much all my clients go through. I think naturally when we're running a business, we have these pain points like, oh man, like for a recruiter, I'm spending all my time sourcing for candidates. I can't go out and do BD. Or in your case, you're bogged down with a lot of admin to support your clients, and you're like, I just want to get rid of it. I want an easy button. And we all want that easy button. We all know it doesn't exist, but we trick ourselves into thinking it. And so it's very natural to go, oh, okay, so I need a person to take care of all this stuff. Let me go interview people. Hey, have you done admin work? Have you been a VA? Great. Okay, you're hired. And like that's the natural inclination. It makes sense, but that's how things end up failing. And like if you did that with your main part of your business, you wouldn't have a business.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's like what I've experienced working with you all is first getting really clear on what are the core skill sets we need? And we figured out that somebody who can really understand content, that's the complex one. And so we've been able to hone in on that. And that it's been interesting to see how who you're looking for has evolved, the clearer we've gotten on what pain point we need to solve in your business. And then, yeah, I think it's a lot of people, it's hard to know what does a great employee look like in the Philippines or what does a great employee look like in Mexico. And that's something I like to do is to challenge the clients to say, we need to hire a 10 out of 10. Don't settle for a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, it is interesting because it kind of flips. It's obvious because right and American direct hire recruiting, every company where it wants the unicorn, they want the 10 out of 10. But there is the mindset shift when you offshore. It's like, well, we're okay with a 7 out of 10. I don't know where that comes from or
Yeah.
what that's all about. What's your take on that?
Yeah, again, I think it just goes to we have these problems in our business we don't want to deal with, so we just want the easy button, and
Yeah,
we trick ourselves into thinking that this can be an easy button.
it's so it's not an easy button, right? You got the SOPs, all that. Like, how much time? That's probably a question everyone asks. Like, how much time should you be dedicating? Right when you go through even from the pre-hiring process to the post, like what does that time commitment reasonably look like if I'm an owner?
Yeah, so to get up and running is it's about a 6 week process.
Yeah.
First couple weeks, you're looking at maybe about 5 hours a week to get set up with the initial who do I want to hire, getting a job ad out there. Once you start getting deep into the hiring process, building out your processes, doing the training, you're looking at about 10 hours a week. So all in all, over the course of 6 weeks, you're looking at, call it 50 hours of work to
Yeah.
go from inception to having a trained employee.
Yeah. And what are some of the results that you've seen when someone's really gone through that process and come out the other side, like from what they were looking for to kind of what actually happened? Um, what's a test case for like an agency? I mean, obviously beyond yours. What does that look like?
Yeah, it's transformative. So I think of my client Josh, he has a story on my website, and he had a couple of recruiters. They were working the VMS game, so they had a ton of searches coming through, and actually good searches. And the recruiters just were bogged down trying to do all the sourcing. So we went out, found an outstanding sourcer. She had actually done full 180 recruitment with lawyers in the US. So wildly overqualified for just sourcing. Uh,
Yeah.
brought her in, set up all the processes. Within 90 days, they were doubling their candidate submissions. And the recruiters loved it because I've never met a recruiter who's like, my favorite thing to do is sourcing. So recruiters are stoked. They're getting more placements. Business, they're hit over 100% of their goal in terms of new placements earlier in the year. Yeah, it was pretty awesome to see.
That's what I remember asking you about that story. I was like, well, what was the submittals is great, but how'd the submittal to interview ratio go? And you're like, yeah, it didn't, it was still like top notch. It was
Yeah.
still right there. Cause like that's the next level, right? That's what's the quality of the submittals and all that. And then once you dial in that quality and then that volume goes up, I mean, that's the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Yeah. And it works. It's like if you've figured out how to source in the US, you can do that overseas and it's going to work just as well, if not better. Because if you just spend 40 hours a week doing it, you should get much better results than you're getting today.
So I have a question for you because it's something that on my end, I whenever I hear an owner being like, I'm going to hire a BD person, and you touched on it earlier, I'm just my eyes roll because it typically comes from, again, they don't want to do it, but the owner has built to 500 a million because of them. Like people are buying from them and they want to get rid of, or they want to offset, like the delegate the thing that makes them the most money, right? Like that's the golden ticket. And I'm always looking at it like, no, optimize yourself. Like get the automation going, get the content going, like have people support these surrounding areas so you can do more of what separates you in the market, which is being able to close like quality clients, quality roles, all that. That's the hardest thing to do in recruiting. It's so interesting. It's the first thing people want to get rid of. It makes sense, but it just almost never works out. The amount of time, oh, we did this, we did that, it never worked out because they're never incentivized the way the owner is
Yeah.
typically. Um, what's your thoughts on that, or like take on that? Because you brought that up earlier that you considered it but didn't go that route.
Yeah, well, we initially did offshore a part of BD in our business and it worked
Okay.
incredibly well. But I think it's you can offshore some or all of BD if you have a very clearly defined process that works and you're ready to train and manage on it. But you better be damn good with those processes, right? So we were able to offshore the top of funnel business development when it came to prospecting because we had a very clear process for going on to Indeed to find leads or going on to Medicare's website to go look up healthcare companies. So that was fairly easy to do to say, here's what an ideal client looks like. Here's the process for finding them. I've done this a million times, so I can even give you a metric for how many companies you should be producing. So taking off a chunk and systematizing it is easy. Now, to your point, okay, well, what about actually doing cold calls or doing cold outreach or doing an initial appointment setting call or even a closing call? Those are such complex processes. So if you're at the point where you've mastered those and you're confident you could teach somebody how to do it and manage somebody, I can help people with that, and I do. Usually, though, for most business owners, those are the most complex things, and so you usually want to start with the simpler functions in the business and spend more time on it yourself.
That is exactly kind of what I've seen.
Yeah.
It's I've experienced it myself. It's hard to bring on people and have the systems and manage and stay with it with all the other demands, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's been a godsend to have your help with this because I've known we need to do it the right way and we are being intentional and I'm making time for it. I'm doing as much as I can because like I see the bigger picture and it's honed in. We have a sound, like I know our top of funnel process. I know medium bottom funnel. I know where the gaps are and all that stuff. I know where the opportunities are and all that stuff. But I'm doing everything to funnel it so I can handle more sales calls, so Keely can handle more discovery calls, so I can do more client fulfillment calls. Like that's the whole goal of me reverse engineering this. It's like I want me and Keely on the phones with prospects, and I want me on the phone with my clients. Like everything else, we're supplementing for to make more of that happen, so I can focus on just that. And like everything behind the scenes, like yeah, what can we figure out there? What can we offshore and have someone just like develop and kind of build on. I mean, that's one of the things I'm excited about on our end is like one of the candidates is like really good at design and websites. And I'm like, huh, because now I'm like completely rethinking my org chart because of like going through this process. I'm like, huh, all right, well, there's an untapped opportunity here that I could dive into if I had like a 40 hours dedicated a week of work. Like, I mean, that could be something like I have the SOPs, I have the vision around it, I have the right people to help manage it. Like, we could attack that now. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool too, right? So, like, thinking different things versus like, oh, someone else can sell for me and do my job for me. Uh, so,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the way I look at it is in a recruitment business, until it gets really large, you have two functions. You have sales and delivery. And within those, and so I always work with owners to say, well, which area is the bigger pain point? And then
Yeah.
within those, you have three functions. So you have, let's take sales, for instance, you have prospecting, you have
Yeah.
appointment setting, and then you have closing. And so as an owner, if I'm going to think about offshoring, I want to figure out, where do I start? Is it on delivery or is it on BD? And then I can take any of those three. I usually start on the bottom of the ladder and work up because it's easier. And the questions to ask are, can I get clear on the types of personality traits and experience that are needed to be successful at this, whichever one of those functions it is? Second, can I develop clear training that outlines exactly what good looks like and how it should be done? And then third, can I establish a clear process to manage these functions?
Yeah.
And sometimes you're like, well, I think I could, but I need some help. That's typically where I come in, is to develop those three things. Any of those functions can be handed off, but the higher up the ladder you go, the harder that gets, and you really have to master those first before you do
Yeah.
that.
I absolutely. And that's why like I've been telling a ton of digital recruiter alumni about you because they've dialed in their Dripify, their content marketing. Like they know the right approach. It sometimes is just staying with it or whatever that looks like. And we provide some continued support. I think some of the team members that you're helping us hire are going to help some of the continuation. But there's some that just need their own dedicated person as well. And so I've been telling a ton of alumni about you. I got, I know you're on Keely's webinar, I think tomorrow. We got the Digital Recruiter monthly Q&A tomorrow. I'll be able to talk about that more then, but also with like the monthly meetings. And I should have you on the next monthly one
Oh yeah,
in
that'd be a blast.
July or August, now that I'm thinking about it. And just kind of work through that process, just talk through that because it's like there's so much. Like if you tackle the top of funnel, the LinkedIn digital recruiter approach, and then have some of this, back end support, maybe sourcing help, but also someone helping, with some of the marketing automation stuff, and just like keeping that going. I have solo clients that have like one VA that are going to double their revenue this year just from what we've been doing top of funnel and then just getting that additional sourcing help on the back end. And one of them's going to do 800K solo.
Yeah.
And he's been doing direct hire 4 years. And he's like, just like I'm good. He's
That's
gonna be
so
one of the crew that we'll see out in Colorado
yeah.
at some point. And I know you got another, digital recruiter client, right? That you're gonna start working with and stuff like that. So it's cool to just see the synergies, with just like how both operate. And I think there's gonna be some pretty cool stories like digital recruiter, well-oiled machine, alumni combos, and we're gonna start to see
Yeah.
a lot of seven-figure. I think we're going to see a lot of seven-figure, quote unquote, solo producers in the next few years that have worked with both of us.
Yeah, I'm getting tingles right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think about the possibilities like we were chatting about earlier. I mean, imagine just having somebody who every time you post goes through and looks at the people who viewed your profile, and okay, it'd be nice if they go through and then provide you with a list and say, hey, these are all the qualified people to message. Next step of that is they go and do the messages for you, and they do it
yeah,
just as well, if not better. And like there are so many cool ways to partner with offshore employees to help go out and get more clients and
yeah.
deliver on those searches.
You just remind me of something important I can't believe I almost didn't cover, which is what is right your take with like the AI agents, all that with VA, kind of like the where's the balance there, right? The line, like, is AI, can it completely replace like the VAs and what they do, as versus like what's give us your take on that because I think it's going to be an informed one.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. And actually, later this year, I'm gonna look to do some case studies. I'm gonna look to partner with some guys who do clay tables and actually put together some data
Yeah,
on what this looks like. My general take of where AI is at today is that it works great for if 70% is good enough. So if you say go and use, like yesterday, I was demoing a tool that creates Boolean for you. Enter in a prompt, it creates this Boolean. If all you do is just prompt AI, take its result, and go apply it, it's usually about 70% good. So, what does that look like? Let's say it's a sourcing tool. 70% of the candidates it shows you, if it's an easy search, are going to fit what you're looking for. You're going to have to filter out 30% of the garbage. Also, 30% of the qualified people, it's probably going to miss. For some people, Maybe, I don't know, if you're in contract staffing and doing like customer service rep searches, 70% is good enough. And like there are places today where you can just fully lean into AI. Most
Yeah.
of my clients, especially the ones who are working in like direct hire niches, that 30% is really expensive. Like you don't have the time to go clean those lists yourself. You don't have the time to go and look for the 30% of the people that it missed. So I don't think we're at a place where we can totally rely on AI for more of these admin functions today. What I do think is really exciting is to see offshore employees doing that work. So you set them
Yeah.
up with an AI sourcing tool, say like a pin.com, and they use that to double or triple their productivity. But what they produce to you is 100% instead of that 70.
That's exactly how I've been seeing it and envisioning it. I'm like, oh man, there is so much. I'm like, I've like rarely been this jacked up to like work on my business than I am right now. Like seeing the AI, knowing you helping the offshore navigating that, and like and you could tell these candidates are pumped about it too. Because like their emails, their communication, like AI is helping all that stuff. Like it's bridging the language barrier gap significantly, which is super
Yeah.
cool in Rin stuff. And I think we're excited to like help train them and show them like, hey, here's like AI is like helping you here. Like here's a couple tweaks to make it more. And it's almost eliminating some of the previous maybe roadblocks, right? To having some of the offshore help. And to your point, like just with something like just completely like putting this into a whole other stratosphere in terms of productivity and output. And I just couldn't be more excited about the timing of that because I see it the same way you do. I think the blend of it is the next level, and we have Clay and Smartly. We have all this stuff that I want to tap into. There's just not enough time in a day, and
Yeah.
so now I'm excited to have a team where there feel like there will be enough time in a day.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
what I like about that too is though is you're not treating AI like the easy button because I think people make that same mistake and they're like, "Oh, I
yeah,
just have this sourcing tool. I just plug in a prompt and it's good to go."
yeah.
And like that's how you end up with garbage. But I think
Well,
yeah, if you can have a thoughtful plan for exactly how AI should be used and managed, yeah, it can be a game changer, especially with offshore.
listeners to the podcast know, and it's the low hanging fruit. And when you have automation, everyone's going to try it and spam, right? Oh, and everyone thinks of it. I have this thing that can do 10,000 things at once. So, like, I'm just going to set it and forget it and not pay any attention. Whereas, like, well, if you just have any sort of thought, if you understand what your competitors are doing and you can kind of have the opposite approach or at least different approach, that's how you're going to stand out. And it just takes work on the front end. It's just like qualifying good business. If you don't really qualify a role, you're going to get burned. But the more you qualify, you might realize like, hey, I shouldn't work on this, and that's okay. Right? No business is better than bad business. I will go to my grave saying that. And I know I have some of the old school heads, even new school people that disagree, and they were like, "Oh, look how many agreements I signed." I'm like, I don't give a crap how many signed agreements you have. Like, how many? What are you closing? Right? What's your your rec to close ratio? Like, what's actually moving? Some people just like to say they have business and recs on the board, but that's it, and like wasting their time. But with any of this stuff, automation, AI, content marketing, like again, the more you put into it, the more you really kind of work and massage the process and iterate and evolve and all that stuff, and just be really intentional and get away from the cash grab mindset and the get rich quick scheme mindset, or I call it the MLM mindset. It's just like there's so much because that's why everyone thinks they're going to get into real estate or everyone thinks they're going to get into recruiting. It's like you just sound like everyone that thinks it's easy. But if you have some respect for, sure, the science of it isn't complicated of recruiting, but the art of it, right? Everything's in between the ears. Most of it with recruiting, and so if you have that, if you flex that, and if you really challenge yourself to do that, man, it opens up the absolute world to you. And with the tools and the potential offshore help you can have nowadays, you can get to places quickly that typically would have taken you 20 years to build the type of network I think that you and I have built in a short amount of time. I mean, that's what's fun. Like, it's just like that is what's crazy about the time we live in. It's just the opportunity for the how many quality interactions you can have is insane to me. So
Yeah.
that's my
Yeah.
rant.
No, I'm with you, but it starts with what you put in. It's like if you put in sloppy, quick work, like that's what you get out of it. But if
Yeah.
it's super intentional, thoughtful, disciplined work, whether it's using AI or offshore or something else. Like, yeah, it's amazing what you can get.
Yeah.
Also, what you were saying reminded me, just as a side note, about clients. We used to track a lot of metrics in our business, and um, one of them was, of course, we would track revenue, and then we looked at the number of job orders we had. And I'd always looked and said, oh, as we get more job orders, our revenue goes up. Um, I think it was around 2021, we were having a horrible 6 month stretch. And I started looking at the numbers, and our job orders were higher than ever before. And I was like, oh, something's wrong here. Like, this is broken. And we had hired a salesperson, and that was part of it. Like, we had a salesperson who was bringing in way more recs for us, and we were like, this is great, this is awesome. But like, after 6 months, recs were going up, revenue was actually going down slightly. And so then we actually implemented a quality control system on recs. And we actually started creating, and if anybody's curious about this, I actually have it on my website for free in the resources section. But we created a scorecard every single time a new client came in, where we actually sit down and said, let's evaluate the size of the opportunity, let's evaluate the fillability of the role, let's evaluate the long-term value, and actually developed a measurable scorecard. And then we started actually like having a score, and we said, okay, we're not going to take anything lower than like a 3 out of 7. And we started just cutting out jobs, and we did it to all of our current clients too. And it was wild to see when we started cutting out the bottom 20% of searches that we previously took, our revenue started to go way up too.
It's same thing happened to my desk at Aerotech. It's the same thing. It's qualifying the role. I'm sure your scorecard looks a lot similar to the how to qualify a role intake form that we have in our course. It's just, why is it open? What's the start date? What happens if something, if you don't fill the role by then? What are the consequences? Who else is working on it? How long have they been working on it for? Right? Like, you got to know the urgency and the threats before you can even talk about the position. Like, because if you don't know that, and that's where most of these wrecks go to die, you can't blend them all together. At Aerotech, there were red zones. There were tags on the board that we put on the board. We met twice a day in the office, in the pit. You're saying that role's going to close, right? And it was, if you lost it to competition, that was better than if the role just kind of disappeared out of thin air.
Yeah.
Like, that was the tag of shame if that happened. And looking back, now being in this world, a little bit more the wild, wild west small agency world, that's the best practice that they had there. They
Yeah.
had going. What was that? Because that is all that matters. And I get people that fight me on that. I'm like, all right, good luck. Like, go ahead. But like, qualifying your business is it, man. Like, that's all it is. I got a question. Did that salesperson get in line?
No, we ended up parting ways
Yeah, yeah,
eventually. Yeah, and
yeah.
I think, one of the vanity metrics I always laugh when I see people post about this is the size of opportunities that are created in the business, and people are like, oh, well, I have 10 job orders, and if I fill them all, I'll close 500K in business. And like, yeah, but if you don't fill those, that's the case. And yeah, she had a very hard time letting go, and she's like, but these hiring managers need this, and they're willing to pay this. And it's like, yeah, but if we're not able to fill it, that's just a waste of time.
Yeah. Or do they want free recruiting? An
Sure.
extra set of eyes, and then they hire internal referral or something else. It's like, that's the discipline. That's the game
Yeah.
right there. And it punishes me how people can be so stuck on their pipeline in contingent recruiting of just like, and I learned it. I learned it early. I had someone a couple of years ago that was like, I have 10,000 reps. I'm like, it was like he signed a bunch of VMS stuff. It's all nonsense. It's like, I
Yeah.
hired 500 people to work on these roles. I talked to him a month later. How many recs you guys filled? Zero. I was like, you have, like, to be clear, because I pitched him and all that. He's like, well, we have all this business. Like, why would we pay you for this? I was like, you have zero business right now.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to break it to you, but someone's got to. Like, you have no business right now because you have just a bunch of paper that's not meaning anything. It doesn't mean anything. Like, agreements are not revenue. Even if they're retained, you're not capturing all that revenue, right? Even if you're month to month, or you have like the RPO type model and pricing model. Well, if you're not delivering anything, it'd be kind of rough. I thought turn off the switch pretty quick. So it's like, no matter what the pricing model is, you got to qualify good business, and you got
Yeah.
to disqualify bad business.
Yeah. Yeah. We eventually ended up moving to a model where we would rate Recs A, B, or C. We actually, the only KPI that counted was how many A Recs do you have?
I like it. I like it. It's the same. Keely and I built out a business planning tool. It's the same thing. A, B, or C client, A, B, or C rec. And interested that the KPI of only being A is on the. It really should be the KPI. Like if I ever get the itch to actually like scale some companies, and I will say, if anyone listening to this that owns that is pretty good in the staffing space but needs some marketing help, message me. Because staffing is the one area where I'm like, I think I could build up a staffing company or two. I think that'd be kind of fun on the marketing side. But like that's I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I just had to throw that out there. Uh, shame. It's just been on my mind. I was like, I
Yeah.
got to talk to more people doing staffing, and being the marketing agent because they have such a hard time wrapping the head around marketing. It's so interesting to me versus like direct hire.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I think it's arguably needed more because the staffing
yeah,
space is treated much more as just a commodity business.
yeah.
And I think even more in the direct recruitment game, you do need to demonstrate. If you demonstrate you have expertise, people will understand that and value that, and that's it. But in the staffing space, it's just treated as a commodity so much more.
Speed.
Yeah, it's just like,
Yeah,
oh, can you produce people? And like that's kind of it. And like, what are your numbers? And that's it. And I think the ability to distinguish yourself is so much more important in staffing because it's much harder to do.
yeah. But a lot of the folks have a hard time wrapping their head around marketing because they get stuck up on the speed. And I've even shown people drip file like the staff IT staffing. I'm like, all right, you send your email, now you're done. Why set up a sequence that has 10 touch points plus content? Like you might send 25 emails right away, but like I'll send 25 connection requests right away on the search or
Yeah.
50 or whatever. Or you could figure out how to use both. But it's I've noticed it can be a little bit of a one track mind. Even though I came from that space, but I came from it and I wanted to do it again. I was the one weirdo in the room that was like, all right, you need this mechanic. You said you need it yesterday, but like, let's qualify it first. Let's get the right person in the door because throwing people at this job has not worked for you. So like, let's slow it down
Yeah.
a little bit. I think if you can have that discipline, you can have some real nice margins in staffing and actually get the buy-in. It just takes someone to just say, okay, stop with the madness. Like, let's do this a smarter way.
Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting to start in direct hire and then eventually add staffing because we kept a bit of that direct hire ethos,
Yeah.
which drove our staffing leaders a little crazy at times, but I think it helped to make sure that the staffing business was really profitable.
Yeah, and that's at the end of the day, that's what matters, right? I think someone was on here saying revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, right? So, which I love that phrase. I got to remember who said that on here. It was fantastic. But um, I haven't asked you yet. Like, how did you even get into recruiting in the first place?
So totally by accident. I mean, nobody goes to
Join the
college.
club, right? Yeah,
I want to be
yeah,
a recruiter, but I worked for a large corporate gym chain for 7 years. Always thought that my career was going to be like eventually leaving and starting my own gym. Like that was my life. Ended up getting fired, made a horrible decision, and they made the right call. Like I demonstrated that I shouldn't be a general manager, and I was looking around for a new opportunity. And of course, like at this point in my life, I'm like, the world's gonna end. I had just gotten married. And little did I know it was like the best thing that would ever happen to me. And I'm talking to a recruiter and I'm like looking for sales leadership jobs, want to make six figures. This recruiter is taking me through the process for this job. Clients just like dragging their feet, the typical like, I don't know, 2 month interview process. And me and this guy hit it off. And eventually he's like, hey, yeah, it's not going to work out with this job. And he's like, hey, like I actually need a recruiter. And long story short, we ended up getting together. I was like, you know what? I haven't really thought about this, but this is interesting. The funny thing with that, so I ended up taking the job. The funny thing, I just wanted a job to pay the bills until I could go start my own gym. Uh,
yeah,
that was it. Like I had no intention of making a career. And funny enough, later, like several years later, I went and started the gym with a few business partners while building the recruitment firm. Jim didn't work out. I came back to him and was like, hey, I want to own my own business. Like I can either go start off something on the side and eventually leave for that, or you can give me an ownership share. And he's like, you know what? I like this second route. And so I eventually ended up becoming an owner that way too.
That's uh that's awesome. Like that's
Yeah.
super cool. When you started, like how long did it take for you to be like, oh, I'm just gonna do this? Do like, just like do recruiting versus like it wasn't like a stop, like a band-aid fix, but it's like, oh, I'm gonna like actually do this and stick it out here.
I had to go through the process of opening up my own business,
Yeah. To know.
having that not
Yeah.
work out until I was like, oh, okay, maybe this recruiting thing's a good option. And
Low
that was
low
probably like
overhead.
four,
Yeah.
that was probably
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 years in.
4 years ago. It's
Yeah.
I resonate. I left Aerotech. I never thought I'd be in recruiting ever again.
Yeah.
And here we are 7 years later. So go
Yeah.
figure. I get it, right? It's just like what's like the mafia. Just when you think you're out, pulls you back in. And there's a little bit of that, right? It's the recruiting is the kind of the island of misfit toys, if you will. Is kind of what I call it. People from all walks that just kind of fell into it. So cool to hear your story. Cool to know that we like overlapped. Like,
Yeah.
talking. We're both in LA, Santa Monica around the same time in last decade. So like, we definitely overlapped. Not sure if you ever hit up Sonny McLean's, but I was there all the time for Patriots games. But although I mean, you're more of an outdoors guy. You're probably out and about, right? Surfing in the morning and snowboarding in the afternoon, right? One of those. Um,
We had an office in Santa Monica pre-pandemic, and I lived in the
yeah.
San Fernando Valley and would take the long route around the ocean and like go take a dip in the ocean every morning
Yeah.
and chill on the beach for a bit before heading into the office.
Get acai bowl. Yeah, do
Yeah.
the whole thing. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So you got the mount, like it says on your headline, outdoors enthusiast, right? Obsessed with the mountains. What's you got? We got to go a little personal here on the hobbies. Like, what are we climbing? What's the biggest mountain that you've climbed? Like, give us a little rundown.
Yeah, yeah. So you can see a little bit behind me. What
Yeah.
you can't see as well is just the continued range of mountains back there. And like my favorite thing is to go up on the deck, look up at the mountains and go, you know what? I see that big rock up there. I want to find my way to it and see what's over there. And so
Yeah.
I'll take my dogs after we wrap up. I'm gonna go take my dogs out and just go off trail into the national forest and just explore the woods and find cool little aspen groves and rocks to climb on. And man, I just love getting out there and exploring.
Dude, I'm pumped. I know we've got a trip penciled for me to get out there. Lord knows I need the exercise. So it'll be good for me. I gotta have to do a couple hamstring stretches before I get out there and do some climbing. But it's been all right. I've been walking around in the 98-degree heat here recently. I'm
Yeah.
using the outdoor heat as my free sauna right now. So I got about a month or so, about 5 6 weeks, I think. But I'm ready. I miss it. I miss getting up in the altitude and hiking. I love the Colorado area. I've been to Utah and all that stuff. Dude, I want to get up to like Tana and like that area at some point.
Yeah.
It's just such a awesome part of the country. And it's fun, right? It's like we got our desk jobs here and like talking to virtually all day, like getting out in person, like getting out and getting some fresh air. Like it's so like critical, right? Just to kind of keep the sanity, and I just can't be in, I could have called my dungeon all day, just kind of staring at the screen. It's just nice to kind of get out and about. Um, I don't know. It's just important. It's easy to lose track of.
Yeah, and I think something that I notice is it's just like, I don't have kids, but I have, responsibilities with my dog and taking care of the house and my partner. And it's just like from the moment I get up until I close my laptop, it's just all focused on tasks and what I got to take care of now or what I got to take care of next. And there's not a lot of time for reflection and, thinking about the bigger things in life. But it's like if when I can go out there for 1 or 2 hours, all it is me and the dogs in the outdoors. And like, yeah, I very quickly think through all of the work stuff I got to get through. And then after that, I can actually like, think about the things that matter more in life.
Mm.
And I get so much value out of just like having that space to reflect and think about the bigger things.
That's well said. And I think going on walks, it's like I'm with you. A little bit more flatland out in Ohio than mountains. Uh, but it's kind of the same thing. You just keep going. I got one of these like watches. I didn't set up Bluetooth or anything like that. It's just like just tracks my steps and just a workout and just going out, leaving the phone, all that, leaving the headphones, and just tracking some of that stuff just because I got to track some of my steps right now, and my atrocious mile pace. But it's just so needed, and that processing. And then people ask like, how are you getting all this stuff done? It's like, well, because I got to find time to process it all
Yeah.
and to reflect on, to your point, reflect on marketing and sales and conversations. And it's so easy for life to just race by. And dude, if you when you do get the kids, man, it goes by even faster. Everything people say about it is true. From it being the absolute best and most rewarding thing to where in the world is the time gone, and kind of finding that. And I do find myself treasuring an hour walk like way
Yeah.
more now when I can get it, when I can get that going and get it in. It's just, it makes all the difference in the world. Even if I have 8 hours of calls in a day and I got computer work and all this other stuff to do, fulfillment work to do for clients, it's like it's so key. And I think it's one of the things that like just mentality as an owner and building, teams and everything that we're doing. Like I do just like wish I'd done better in the winters, especially like the Ohio winters here, of just like making that more of a priority. I know we're going off script a little bit here, but
Yeah.
like it is one thing that's like an owner, producer, recruiter. Once you start getting bit, it's so easy to add more calls to the calendar and do more things. You can always find something else to do, but man, finding that time to like touch grass, as the kids say,
Yeah.
is so important.
Yeah, no, and that just reminded me, like I recently lost a couple of family members and was just in a period of life that was like really, really go, go, go. And I noticed when I was showing up to work, like I was really scattered and I like just wasn't focused. I kept like procrastinating, putting off the hard work. And I realized at some point I was like, damn, like you haven't like actually really sat there and like thought about these people who you cared about and loved and still love and lost. And that's just like going somewhere deep inside. And like, yeah, that weighs on me personally, but it also is really distracting at work and I didn't realize it. And like being able to take, I've actually been trying to go take some, when I do go out, is like taking some time to reflect on that and actually process that. And like, I'm noticing the more that I do, the clearer I'm actually getting at work too.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that because it doesn't yeah, as someone that's experienced a loss or two myself, I can resonate with the kind of pushing it down versus actually
Yeah.
processing it, and having done both ways. There's a clear winner in terms of what is
Yeah.
more productive and healthier, and it's what you're describing. And there is something about even just getting out, in nature and just thinking about that person, the memories. I think it's a way to there's a way to just honor someone and also just heal yourself, right? We have to be able to process that stuff, and it is no, we have the forums. So might as well talk about it here. Of just like it's you can't skip over that because it's
Yeah.
part of life, and it's easy. I got to get to this client. I got to this candidate, and I had my nephew who helps me out with the podcast, produces this podcast, Riley, it's car issues yesterday and stuff like that, right? The transmission got fixed. It, got to get the warranty, all that stuff, because they didn't do it right. He's like panicking. I'm gonna be late. I'm like, dude, don't worry about it. Go take care of it. There's nothing you or me have to do today that we can't completely reschedule. Like, there's just nothing. Like, so don't worry about it. Like, just get it done, problem solve. Like, you're good. Like, we're good. Deal with it at hand. And it's just like, that was a quote unquote minor thing, but like I think it just holds true. As I would say, like I take my work seriously, but I don't take myself too seriously. But even the work thing, it's like it's not so serious that it can't wait if it has to. And I think building a business, I think that's one thing is I'm proud of, like just building a business where I truly enjoy interacting with all my clients and working with all of them and know the value I can provide. In return, like they're chill. Like they know when things come up, right? And especially on the recruiting side, back in the Aerotech days, like that was one of the best parts, like making my boundaries great clients. There was a lot of goodwill there and leeway and stuff like that. And just like not everything felt like a panic anymore. And I don't know, it's just like a great place to be.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for being really intentional with how you go out building a
Yeah,
business. And I think if we're not intentional about it, like I've caught myself just kind of being on autopilot. It's like, well, okay, I'm working to make money, and so like I'm just going to orient towards making money, and then all of a sudden you end up with a business that
yeah,
um, you're serving rather than it serving you. But it just reminded me of um, when I sat down and started developing the concept and the model for well-oiled machine, taking a while to say like what matters, what am I aiming at here? And yeah,
yeah,
money. There were three things. Money was one of them. But the other two are totally different. The other one of them was integrity and really doing work where I wasn't having to make the decision between compromising my values to chase more money, and I wanted to be
yeah.
aligned with my values. And then the other one was energy and having the time and energy to be able to go out and do the other things that I love and not just being totally sat by my work. And it's been really cool to be clear on those and
Mm.
then to build this out in a way that like I can stay true. And like every quarter I have a check-in where I'm like, how am I doing with these three things? Am I staying on course with that?
Well, I know the first two I can attest to in terms of the integrity and the energy. Definitely the energy, you definitely have. And from how I've known you this year, for sure the integrity. And I won't ask you about the money, but because it's just not relevant.
Yeah.
We're not those guys, and we'll let other people post the rented Lambos, excuse me. Uh, if you have the integrity, have the energy, and the right offer, which you definitely do, people your offer is so needed. It's so needed to be done by the right person that has integrity, has energy, is going to do things the right way, especially for recruiters. The rest come, the money will come. It's a byproduct, just
Yeah.
like, and it applies to recruiting, right? Applies to the LinkedIn stuff that we're doing, digital recruiter. It's just that it's the same way, and that's why we connected and why we resonate is because you're living that way, and we'll let other people chase the Benjamins, and we're in it for the long game, man. And I love that you are too. It's been great to just meet you and work with you this year, and eventually figure out a meetup this summer.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll record something live too, and just appreciate you being on here. So if you got any one last things to share with the listeners, please do.
Well, yeah. I mean, two things. One, it's also been awesome. I think my partner Ellie's probably sick of hearing about this guy Clark and all the things I'm learning and the collab we're doing. But also, yeah, I think just going back to that point about being intentional with the business, it's like if you're clear on what you want in your business, then it should also be really clear what you don't want, including the work that you don't want to be doing yourself. And that is such a great place as a starting point to think about where should I offshore or even
Yeah.
onshore, and like how do you go about doing it? And I think if you're intentional about it, whether it's using AI or offshore or onshore, nearshore, you can do it. Like just as long as you don't treat it like an easy button.
Well, freaking said. Well, you killed it. This is awesome. I'm excited to make some of these hires and come back and record some more and share even more how awesome you are to everyone and that they all need to work with you. So connect with Greg if you haven't already. Shoot him a message, book time with him, all that good stuff. Uh, we'll have his LinkedIn URL in the episode bio. If you got value from this conversation, give us a like, give us 5 star. I'm still working my way back from the 1 star I got a couple years ago when I started this thing from a hater. So I'm at 4 point something. I don't know what I'm at now, but I'm trying to work my way up. So give us some love on there. Make sure to subscribe and all that good stuff. And yeah, until next time, y'all. Happy hunting.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.